Hugh Loomans founded and runs a mid-sized Canadian company, Sylvite, in a marketplace with huge international competition with deep, deep pockets. The fertilizer business is as nasty and unpredictable to entrepreneurs as the weather is to farming. It changes in a flash. It wipes out sectors ruthlessly, and it demands the same hands-on approach farmers bring to their fields. Meet Hugh Loomans, independent fertilizer entrepreneur in Canada who doesn't complain. He rolls up his sleeves and faces the world head on.
The amazing part about this business, we bet the farm every day, even to this day. Like, I mean, you know, you've got $10-20 million worth of inventory floating around on a ship, and, you know, you got insured and everything else. But as I say, with the commodity volatility of today, it is not for the faint of heart, I must admit. Most of the ag guys, you know, whether you're a farmer or you know, a fertilizer dealer or feed, whatever, like, I mean, just with the fluctuations in pricing, it's daunting, to say the least.
Explain why fertilizer is being impacted.
This is not horse manure, for lack of a better term. It's not the old chemical, the fertilizers we used to think of. These are chemicals. They're like small gumballs, effectively, or large BBs. They're round pellets. And it's one of the biggest markets in the world, and they're critically vital for growing food around the world. And while oil is getting all the headlines around the Strait of Hormuz, about 30 to 50% of either the fully produced fertilizers or ingredients, Katie, in those fertilizers goes through the Strait of Hormuz.
It's a commodity, so the price goes up and down, so he has all of that to contain in the back of his mind.
Some of the political or geopolitical stuff that's happening today, like Venezuela, suddenly, you know, they export about 500,000+ tons of nitrogen per year. So suddenly, you know, you got a blockade, and now is that going to get out? Is that not going to get out? China, you know, China produces about 70 to 80 million metric tons of nitrogen products per year. One year they exported 10 million tons into the market, and the next year they exported 0. So suddenly you think, oh boy, then you take 10 million tons out of a market, it definitely has an impact.
When you take a look at the industry that Hugh's in, the primary industry that he's in, dominated by large corporations. And I think he's shown that in that space there was room for entrepreneurialism, that he could grow, that he could be nimble, and that he could create advantages and profitability by being nimble and by being creative.
For Hugh, key to his success, relationships.
We're all about relationships. I think that's such a massive part of our business. I mean, our business, you know, even to this day, we'll still do $8-10 million deals on a handshake, or you know, you paper it 2, 3, 4 days later, and oh, I forgot to send you that, and what was that price, kind of thing. It's surprising still how much of that takes place. But
$10 million deals on a handshake, a tradition rooted in the agribusiness. Deals that are based on trust and tradition, but they carry risks, big ones. And this is where relationships with auditors and banks matter. And those professional business relationships ensure the company could negotiate internationally, a place where handshake deals aren't enough.
And it allowed us to be represented for international companies. It really gave us credibility, which was quite a positive for us growing. And the one thing about the commodity business, we don't fit into the regular boxes that a bank might put around things. Your debt to equity can get way out of whack because suddenly we have to hold piles of inventory. So we have to have a very, very solid banking relationship and a very good understanding. And as you know, with the banks, you finally get someone trained and they understand your business, and then boom, they're gone. So then you got to have a new fellow that comes in or whatever. And as I say, we've really been very, very fortunate, but we've had to make quite a few changes with our banking arrangements as we've grown, and that's been a challenge, I must admit.
So much of Hugh's success is rooted in his ability to plow through challenges. Nothing has come easy. The origin story of Sylvite starts in the Netherlands during the Second World War, where but for a series of fortunate events, Hugh wouldn't be here. His father had been rounded up and put to work by the Nazis in a munitions factory, but thanks to his ability to bake a loaf of bread, he was transferred to the commissary one day before Allied troops destroyed the weapons depot, killing all inside. As soon as they could, the Loomans left Europe and came to Canada.
I was born, of course, in the Netherlands, but I came over in a basket, so I was, I think, 2 months old. And of course, back then, as an immigrant, you were sent to populate Western Canada. So we were sent to Manitoba. So my dad got a job. Fortunately, we lived in Gimli for a bit. He was a cook. So we ended up at a hydro project about 130 miles north of Winnipeg in Pointe-du-Bois. And as I say, we lived in residence for the hydro project, so he cooked for all the fellows that worked at the hydro plant. So it was a great place to grow up, awful cold, but you know, I mean, there was 3 of us in grade 1, and literally a one-room schoolhouse, John J. Glasgow School, and you know, minus 40, minus 50, it was darn cold. But again, you know, it was a great place to grow up.
A great place to grow up if the intent is to become anti-fragile. That's a term coined by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, a term that suggests that taking a pounding in life can either break you or harden you. In Hugh's case, he suffered a traumatic injury at 6 years of age, an injury that could have sidelined him.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to help Dad out the first day of grade 1, and he was grinding up some meat, and I happened to stick my hand in the meat grinder when he left the room. So, and again, you know, thanking the Lord, my brother was in the room, and he had the presence of mind to turn the damn thing off, or I'm sure I would have lost my arm. But you know, kids can be pretty cruel, and we moved around a lot. So we started probably 6 or 8 new schools over the course of elementary school. And I guarantee you, coming into a new school and, you know, having no fingers, you get picked on a little bit. But it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in a roundabout sense, because you learn to adapt. So, you know, as I say, you make friends with sort of the tough guys, and you make friends with the eggheads, because not that I was an egghead, but you kind of had to move from one circle to the next and make peace. You didn't get the shit kicked out of you, kind of thing. So that was a big deal, and I think it really allowed me so I can, you know, sit with a motorcycle gang and have a beer and everything's fine, or a group of farmers, and then sit in the boardroom and everything. It kind of works.
Yeah, it does work, and it's a vital component to many entrepreneurs' stories. They're not the most popular person. They're not the smartest. They're not the best athletes. They don't have movie star good looks, and they don't have money. But what they have is a nothing is going to stop me mindset. No matter how much others tell them, you'll never amount to anything.
I remember one guidance teacher, I think it was in grade 10, and said, you know, you're never going to amount to a hill of beans and that kind of thing. You know, I think we've all had one of those. And, you know, you think, oh boy, that just kind of sets you on fire. So, you know, and you just turn around and there's no way that's going to happen. And I don't know, it just stimulates you to action. I wonder if it's almost contrived, but she seemed pretty sincere.
Central to that feeling of pride is a commitment from Hugh to the women and men who deliver the products and services Sylvite provides.
Well, we still say, even though we're about 400 employees strong, that we're a family-oriented business. We center everything around, you know, looking after one another.
It is very entrepreneurial. You know, we have a lot of branches, and a lot of those branches run very much like they're their own business. The manager has a lot of accountability and you know, direction for that business. So I think we're very entrepreneurial. You know, we do have that open culture, open dialogue.
In other words, they have a team that is trusted. Trust built organically over decades.
We've been very blessed. We've got a tremendous staff, and the culture, I think, it does stem from the sort of the top down. You have to have And I don't know whether it comes from myself or some of our managers. It's imperative that we stay in touch, and as I say, no job's too big, no job's too small. Like, I still water the plants in the office. I'm sitting here on Friday night thinking, holy crow, I got to do that. So it's just, I think it's important that everybody, carries their weight and doesn't get caught up in their own self-importance. And it's just, it's what we do.
Well, it's what long-serving entrepreneurs do. They don't ask others to do jobs they wouldn't do. They appreciate the excellence and insights of their team, and they never give up. One of the 4 P's in entrepreneurial success is perseverance.
The only reason we're still here is strictly perseverance.
Exciting is a good way to put it. One moment you're excited by how brilliant you are. The next you're excited by how dumb you can be. And then minutes later you're back on the upside of the excitement scale. We're producing these stories to take you inside the lives and journeys of the women and men who dare to risk it all, who make something from nothing, and along the way provide employment, pay taxes, and give back to their communities. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter at theentrepreneurs.ca, and we'll notify you when a new entrepreneur profile is published.